Welcome back to the only Bitcoin trading analysis you're ever going to need. Let's take a look at kind of our blueprint, so to speak, for this overall macro range. You guys know that we've been using this since back in this area of the chart. Okay, so we were looking for the highs back here towards the beginning of November, and then we were looking for the lows coming into February, specifically the 26th through the 8th, which did more than just give us the lows. It gave us a really nice reversal into this macro time point of control, and then we have the volume point of control above that. You guys will hear me reference 47,707 a lot, and that really is kind of the line in the sand for me. That is the area we have to get back above on a macro level for me to be fairly bullish on this asset. This was a fairly easy trading weekend. This was something that we were pretty well prepared for, if I'm being quite honest. We were looking at these lows opportunistically. We know that in order for us to have held these lows, realistically, there was only one level you should have been looking at. It was detailed several times. You did have 36,270. This was going to be your key level to the downside. Okay, so this was your invalidation, where you can see that it was support one time, demand two times, three times, four times, five times, six times. And had we come back for a seventh touch of this demand zone, you do have to make the assumption of support, and it's support until it's not. But at that point, you start looking at it and going, man, this is really just hammering home that it wants to possibly take a dip lower. In this instance, you did not get that though. What we were looking for as early as, looks like the second right here, you can see that we were up here at resistance. We had identified it correctly, and we were looking for a potential for some form of ascending triangle. I hate pattern trading, but it is what it is, guys. And thus far, this has really panned out quite well. Okay, so this is the triangle. $44,560 is that resistance zone that you are up against. The last resistance zone before you challenge into the yearly open, which falls squarely within this region here. If we go ahead and get rid of our doom chart now, because we all know that we're expecting bottoming price action in this region. If it were to do the opposite of this, that would be a change of behavior, and we'd have to consider the resolution of the structure. But as for right now, we are looking for this to continue the trend upwards. In terms of the overall structure here, you can see that we have not challenged all the way back into resistance yet, but you had a really easy play. There were some levels that we were working off of in the Discord, really working off of the idea that the semi-annual ranges were going to provide the most benefit for us. Okay, so these would be the levels we're working off of: 38.2, 37.3, 36,650, and 36,270.5. Okay, so if we go ahead and flip those levels back on the chart just to have a look and see how they line up and how you could have traded this, they trade just so well. We'll go down to a 4-hour. I'll get rid of this ugly little triangle in my opinion. And from here you can see that 37,300, that was the low. Okay, and we did have some of that must hold support down here in that low to mid $36,000 region, and we knew that if we broke that, we could recognize targets lower, which we were prepared for, because you always have to be prepared for both sides. But then going into yesterday, if you follow me on Twitter, you guys know that I was kind of on about how 38.2 was what we were looking for, a reclaim for a sign of strength, which we did get to the dollar almost at 38,136. And then from there, we are targeting the point of control of our overall range. That overall range looks like this, guys. You actually had two possibilities for this range. We'll go ahead and update it while we're here. You can see that the val of your range lines up just so nicely with the TPO value area low from historical ranges. You get back in it, you are targeting the point of control at this point for your take profit. Now, does that mean close the entire trade? No, because you do have an overall larger range. And as long as we are holding certain key areas such as the 40.3K region, one that I've been on about both publicly on Twitter and in the group, that as long as we're above 40.3K, and I would really give that an extent down to about 39,722, this 24M key level right here. This little box, about $600. If you're living above that, which does fill in this void of volume here, things are okay in my opinion, meaning that this can continue up all the way to resistance still. But you have noticed that the theme has been that this is a fairly quick move up, a fairly quick move down, quick move up through resistance and support, and vice versa. And again, so if we spend a little bit of time here filling in this inefficiency in volume, that's a-okay, as long as we're not breaking down back to the lows of the range at 38.2K, in which case we really want to be hanging on to 38.2K at that point. That is a what if scenario that we don't really need to consider too much of, as prices seems to be holding on to its current structure just fine, really oscillating around this point of control. So what we'd like to see is a continuance of increase in open interest, a continuance of positive delta to push this up into this last resistance here. And this resistance is a zone, again, with the final really dollar amount being that $44,560.50. We do give it a $500 window at $43,999, which was an old weekly naked point of control. So that is really a breakdown and a rundown of the range. You're just kind of right now, I think you're butted up against the golden pocket, and there is a high time frame average of price here at, I believe, 42,670 that just is in the way at the moment. Yeah, this is more of a pit stop than anything, in my opinion, until proven otherwise. So we do have a couple levels of resistance here, which isn't to be surprising. This really is a whole zone here of resistance on so many different levels. So you really have to kind of itemize your chart and pick out what's important. And for me, what's important is the range highs. That is why I'm prioritizing this zone right here versus these other minor support and resistances, in my opinion. So realistically, has Bitcoin confirmed a reversal here? You could make the argument for it, but it has not necessarily confirmed it with higher highs just yet. And when we do get those, again, we are targeting this 47,700 level. Just call it 48K, guys, which really does take the highs of this move right here. If we take these highs and find our way back down into the range, though, one would have to start looking at that and saying, man, that is not what you want to see. You're just taking the liquidity of the highs and coming back down. But that said, this is a fairly large structure, so it's not something I'd be looking to fade. You know, if you're not in the move, you really have to go back and reevaluate your own trading and determine, you know, hey, when we were down here at the lows of the range, was I taking advantage of opportunities to purchase discounted rates? And I even made the comments that while there is a statistical probability that we could actually take these lows and make new lows, because what we saw imbalance wise in this low right here is not, it's not really perfect, but that's okay. We knew that the percentage of taking that low technically is higher than not. But that said, guys, we cannot trade for that until we get confirmations. And for us, confirmations of that we're going to be living below $36,270.50. So we had to know where we're right and we're wrong. And you do have to be able to put on the risk anyway on the reclaim and the sign of strength, which was the reclaim of 38.2K. So even if you weren't willing to long into these supports that were already laid out, you did have a very, very obvious sign of strength right here, range acceptance. One would guess that at least at a minimum, we would go ahead and cycle back to 40,300 and then further into that $41,500 to $42,000 level. So, you know, that is something that if you are struggling with it, you know, and you're in the group, especially if you're in the group, tag me in the classroom and let me know. But I don't think we really have too much of an issue. This has been a pretty clear cut and dry range. One thing to keep in mind, a little nugget for you guys. This is a long video and I do apologize, but I will be cross posting on YouTube a little bit. And you guys know that I like to give you the most in-depth analysis that I can. And I feel like you guys deserve it. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. If you guys don't enjoy this kind of analysis, leave me a comment down below anyway and let me know that, you know, hey, this isn't for me. Could you make shorter videos? More than happy to do so. This is going to be an area of interest for us right here. You really need to keep an eye on just like the Q3 high right here. You can see how once you find acceptance back into this, you can now assume a move into the lows of the range to test these lows, which is what we got. Now we are looking at the low of Q4. So we have the Q4 low here. And if we just go down to like something like even an hourly and we check these levels out, guys, we'll go to log scale, just easier to do. These are the levels we are watching. And why are we watching this level? Because it's a really high time frame level to defend, meaning that the end of March coming, we want to see 41,274 being held as support. May even look better on a 4-hour here, and I think it does. You can see that as soon as we found acceptance into this region, which you can spot that through order flow. So if you're interested in that, join the group. But you can see that as soon as you find acceptance back into this kind of like a range, a quarterly range here on a market structure basis, you sell off pretty heavily and come back down to that macro support. So we really want to see ourselves living back above this Q4 low here. And that would make us assume that we have the opportunity to now challenge into some of these higher levels again, up in that $58,000 to $60,000 region potentially, if we can claim $47,707. I really appreciate you guys watching the video. Follow, like, comment, share, and I'll catch you in the next one.